Hey there, everyone. This is Ill Factor from beatacademy.com. In this video, I want to share with you 3 things that can help you finish your tracks more consistently and quickly without getting stuck in writer's block. Now, first, I want to say that writer's block, well, that's just a natural part of the process. It's something that all artists, music producers are just going to find themselves in. And so, if you're struggling with writer's block, maybe you've been going through some kind of valley and you've been there for a while, and you haven't been motivated or haven't felt inspired or creative lately. Well, take heart. I want to encourage you to know that this is something that we all go through. And just because the length of time of the rut that you've been in is long doesn't mean or reflect the lack of creativity that you have or the potential that you have to be creative. So I'm going to say that at the outright. I want to just encourage you to know that you're not alone. This is something that every music producer, artist goes through. Okay, with that out of the way and with understanding that reality, let's jump into, okay, what are some things we can do that can kind of help jumpstart that creative spark, or at least help us to get some of those started ideas that we have into finished songs. Now, tip number 1 would be creating deadlines. Not as a hard limit, but mostly as a motivator to get out of the 4-bar loop cycle we often find ourselves because we're distracted with the endless process of tweaking. All right. So, granted, deadlines are really helpful. And if you're anything like me, I tend to procrastinate, maybe even lack of motivation to continue with an idea I started. And sometimes having a deadline, like I know I need to finish this track in a couple hours or else I won't be able to submit it to a certain project or something like that, that can be helpful. But I'm talking about maybe something as simple as even setting a timer, maybe for 90 minutes or so, get your phone, get an app or whatever, and hold yourself accountable to saying, okay, I have 90 minutes to at least structure out a skeleton or rough sketch of what the arrangement of this idea should be. And what tends to happen out of that is that you don't get stuck in the vortex of the endless, wow, this sounds like a really cool loop and vibe. And then you're really stepping away and it's like, okay, I got 90 minutes to flush this out. Now, I know sometimes you're like, well, even if the timer goes off, I'll just, reset it and go back into that loop. But having some kind of deadline or a motivator to just say, okay, I need to get this done in this certain amount of time, usually tends to happen to build the habit of getting out of the need to want to go into endless tweaking, endless, tampering with a 8-bar or just an overall vibe that you might have. And it will help you see the bigger picture, taking a step back and saying, okay, how can I now arrange this spark of an idea into a song? And most likely when you can draw out a skeleton or an arrangement of that idea, maybe from like creating an intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, a drop, whatever genre that you're making, but fleshing that out, it would be really helpful then to take a further step back and say, okay, now that I've got the bare bones and it's all laid out, I can now see where I'm going with this song and I can make better decisions with my production as to know what's needed to get this song finished. All right, the second one is telling someone else that you're working on a new song. If you find yourself stuck with an idea, but you really see the potential in it and want to finish that idea, have some accountability. Invite somebody into the process. Even inviting somebody into the process, for me personally, actually gets me out of that whole lack of motivation, because when somebody's there, kind of gives me that accountability. And it's really important when you even tell that person, listen, I'm working on a new idea. I want you to hold me accountable. I want to let you hear the full song, fully finished and done in about 2 weeks time, or you set that date and time. And it might even be beneficial for you to say, and if I don't have that song delivered to you in 2 weeks, I owe you a meal or something. I don't know. Just be creative with that. I get it that all of these things that we're talking about are really like you're placing these rules, and it's like someone, starting a New Year's resolution. I want to lose a certain amount of weight or whatever, and then we tend to just break that. And so accountability and having somebody outside that can hold you accountable is actually a really good motivating factor to help you get things done. So invite somebody into the process, and you'd be surprised with just how well that might be for you to say, okay, I really do got to send this over to so-and-so, or else I have to pay for their meal or whatever the case may be. But at least, you can say, hey, I'm working on something, would love your input on it, but I'm going to have this done in the next week or so. So chime in, let me know how it's going. And if I tell that person, no, I still haven't finished it, give yourself some grace, give yourself some breathing room, and just let them know. But here's the progress I'm making. And at least at that point, tell yourself, but here's what's left to get it to the finish line. So at least you give yourself the vision of knowing where it is I need to, go to get this song completely done. And the third one would be just purposely scheduling production sessions in your day-to-day regular schedule. This sounds really obviously, but if you don't set time aside to actually produce music, you don't produce music. I know, let me unpack that a little bit, because I know this sounds like some kind of bumper sticker, and that's not what I'm going for. What I'm really going for here is being intentional with the time that you're setting aside in pursuing production of music. And I know most of you who are watching this channel, you've got a 9 to 5, or you don't have all the time in the world to begin with. And that's okay. You're setting a priority as to what's important, and you're spending a lot of time doing that. Or you just don't have the time in this current season of life that you're in. I get that. So when you do have the time, be intentional with, okay, I've got this idea. Let me go ahead and schedule a specific time in my schedule and say, this Friday at this time, I'm dedicating just that 2-hour block to getting this song done. Because oftentimes the temptation is, yeah, that's on the hard drive. Let me just, tweak around or just fumble into another idea. And then you keep repeating that. Before you know it, you have a hard drive full of idea starters. And now, here's what I would encourage you from that. So this is going to be like a double whammy here. What I would encourage you is go through some of those past projects that you maybe just started an idea. And look, that's okay. Not every idea needs to be turned into a song. It might just need to be a vibe that you create and then you move on. That's perfectly fine. So what I would encourage you to do is go through that hard drive, go revisit some of those old ideas, open up the session, don't touch anything but export them. So the current state that they're in, just go ahead, export that file into a WAV or an AIF, MP3 if you want, but export it and place it into another folder. And while you do that, make sure you put the key signature and the tempo of that session as the file name or whatever name you want to call it. And then on the folder over here where you're exporting all those ideas, treat it as a sample library that you can use and incorporate when you hit your head across just writer's block and you don't know where to go. So what I mean is you get a bunch of those cool little ideas, those riffs and those things that you might have created. And then when you come across writer's block, where you simply go, okay, let me go through my idea box. And oh, I'm in the key of A minor. And there was an idea that I printed that works in A minor. Drag that in there and see if that even inspires you to kind of create on a whole nother direction. Or maybe even it might work well for a certain bridge or certain section. What you're doing is you're incorporating some of the old ideas into your new process that can then spark a new motivation within you to keep going and finish your ideas. So those are some tips. I hope they encourage you. I hope they help you out in getting some of your ideas finished and finally being able to share those ideas with the rest of the world. Well, hope the information I shared in this video was encouraging and helpful in any way. And if you're looking to take your next step forward with your music production and you're looking for professional guidance to help you do that, well, I want to direct your attention to beatacademy.com. And I would encourage you to become a Beat Academy Pro member. This is where I invest a lot of my time and energy in coming alongside artists and singer-songwriters and producers to help them move forward and take their next step with their music production. There's in-depth courses that will walk you through every aspect from mixing, mastering to songwriting, producing, arranging, vocal production, as well as producing for specific type of genres of music and how to develop a career out of your music. And there's also a community where you can link up with like-minded individuals that hold you accountable and to help you collaborate, add value, and bring value to what it is that you're working on. As well as mentorship opportunities where I'm really engaged in those and actually help equip you achieve your goals with your music. So if you're interested and you're serious about taking your next step forward with your music, then I would encourage you to visit beatacademy.com and become a Beat Academy Pro member today. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe so you can stay up to date with upcoming videos on this channel. And I'll see you next time.